been a while. There's probably a lot more to say than I will actually say, but just to check in, exams are done. I no longer have to worry about that. I did the longest exam of my life. It was 4 days. 4 whole days. I never believed that there would be an exam that would last for 4 entire days, but it did. And I'm honestly quite glad that it did, because that gave me time to take, rest and breaks, and I could think about things on a longer scale than you typically have time for on exams. So I actually really liked the way that happened, and it was a really nice weekend, so the breaks were really nice and restorative. The exam that I most recently did, I was so worried about it because it seemed like it was going to be even harder than the hardest exam that I've written, which was fundamentals. And it wasn't actually as hard as I thought it would be. But I am glad that I studied the way that I did, because there were some questions that were just completely random, just data from the slides that you just had to have memorized. And fortunately, I did. So I'm really glad that it turned out the way it did. And I'm also really glad that I am part of the SORA. I can't remember what the acronym is, but that I got a little bit extra time in finishing it, because I absolutely needed that time. And I also absolutely needed a bathroom break. And it was really nice to be able to have one. So everything went well. I finished the exams. Woohoo! And now I'm focusing on my dissertation. I have yet to really dive in as fully as I will, but that's the next step in the academic journey. Meanwhile, I've been applying for work. I have an interview that I'm really excited for. It's not for a few weeks, so I'm sort of weighing the options of, can I try to get something short-term for the immediate time, and just sort of navigating a lot of bureaucratic things, a lot of paperwork, a lot of just pragmatic concerns. And yesterday, in celebration of the end of exams and the end of term 2, my program had a social gathering at Regent's Park, which was really nice. We were in, I think it was the Rose Garden might have been what it was called. It's beautiful. Beautiful garden, beautiful nature. We were just outside. And the nice thing is that because it's I assume this is because we're in a nutrition and public health course. So half of the group was playing football. I have to correct myself. It's not soccer, it's football. And so half of the classes, or not class because it wasn't everyone, but half the people who were at the picnic played some football, and I sat down with the other people who were sitting by the picnic blankets, and then conversation led to where it did, and I ended up doing some handstand. Well, I'm working towards learning to do a handstand. I can do a tripod, and I can do the headstand where you just put your arms that way. For some reason that's so much harder for me than doing a tripod. Probably just practice. But I was doing that, and a few other people were doing that, and then it turns out that a bunch of us have the goal of being able to do a handstand, and so we're going to try and form a group and go out and support each other in learning how to do a handstand. So that's going to be fun. And I've also made some tentative plans for doing some day in Clapham together, because Clapham is a bit of a gayborhood. It's specifically a lot of gay men, and on the sunny days when I go to Clapham Common, especially on a weekend on a sunny day, it's full of just shirtless gay men and their little dogs. It's really nice. It's a nice environment. There's a spot on the high street where they have like drag brunch. There's probably multiples, to be honest, but we were making some like tentative plans on having like drag brunch and Clapham Common hanging out and maybe go to a cafe or something. So that'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really excited that I've been able to read things that are not nutrition. I took a break from reading coursework, and I actually started reading for fun. And I started off with reading Cosmopolitanism, and I got, a decent, like a few chapters in, and I've really enjoyed reading this much. It's very philosophical, and because of that, there's like some of the ways in which things are worded are just like inherently confusing. I find that a lot of philosophical texts, even though the goal is to break things down to be more easily understood and more specific in how they're explaining things, I find often it's like it's kind of counterproductive and ends up being more confusing. So I'm a little uncertain about what I think about this. There's some interesting ideas, and I'm sure I will explore it more. But I didn't really feel like continuing reading this just yet. So then I picked up an Ursula Le Guin book because I read The Left Hand of Darkness, and I was really excited to read that book because I'd heard so many good things. I heard sort of like descriptions about the content of the book, like in that it's a lot of gender bending because they're like, a race of people that can change their gender and like their biological sex kind of at will and depending on circumstances. And I think that idea is really appealing, and I was just so excited to like read a book that had that as like a central part of the story. And then when I actually was reading it, it turns out I just really don't like the narrative style. I just don't like the writing. So the ideas are really compelling, but the execution just completely turns me off, and I don't enjoy it at all. So I thought I would give Ursula Le Guin another shot because just like, she's like a legendary author. But I started reading another book, and I got a few pages in, and I just really don't like that style of writing. So I'm sad about that because I think she explores really interesting ideas, but no, it's not for me. So I put the Ursula Le Guin book down, and I picked up Creative Community Organizing. And this book I really am enjoying. It's very conversational in tone, and there's a lot of like anecdotes about like experiences that the author went through in as many years of organizing. I think it was like over 50 some odd years of doing like political protests, organizing, and resistance movements. The foreword is written by Angela Davis, or there is a foreword written by Angela Davis. Jim Hightower wrote the other one. And I love Angela Davis, so I was just like, yes. And I had started reading this book last year when I was here, and I really enjoyed the little bit that I read. I reread that part and continued reading, and I'm really excited to finish the book. I'm already like almost halfway through, and that was just in one sitting really that I did that. So I'm definitely engaged with it. I really am excited to continue to read it, and if you haven't read it or even heard of it, I highly recommend it. I'm not totally sure how to say the author's name. I think it's Sai Khan, because I thought it was She Khan, but then I like looked it up a little bit, and I think it was Sai. Anyways, so that is really great. And I was reading it largely at Brockwell Park, where there's currently a music festival happening. And so I went on Saturday and I went on Sunday and just like picked part of the park to sit in the grass. I found one part where I could hear the music from one of the stages like really well, and I could hear a little bit of bleed through from some of the other stages, but I could zero in on the one stage fairly well, so I liked that spot. And the way that it's set up in the park is that you have to pay to actually be like in the festival, and I just wanted to casually listen to music while I'm reading in the grass, and fortunately they don't close down the whole park, so there's just walls up, and so you can't see in, and it also kind of creates a bit of a sound barrier as well, but there's a hill and everything, so depending on the topography where you find yourself, you can get the acoustics sounding pretty good from at least one of the stages. I think the main stage, they've spent some time in making sure that no one can hear it except for the people inside the festival. So that was a little annoying, but because I just inherently feel like people should, like, yes, I think that artists need to be paid, and I think that should be done by, government and whoever is hiring them to be performing, and I don't think that the general public should have to pay to enjoy music. I think that should be freely available for everyone. So, yeah, I had fun just like listening to the music. I listened to Lady Ray, W-R-A-Y, and that set was so good, so good. I barely even read during that set. I was mostly just listening. Very good. And so that was on the Sunday, where it was more like jazz, R&B kind of stuff, and then the previous day was more like indie rock kind of stuff, and that was also kind of fun to listen to. Not this past week, but I think the week before, I went to the Pure Vinyl up the street on Ferndale, and once a month they do like a DJ night, dance, hang out, have a fun time. It's free if you want to do that. And I've gone a few times now, but I hadn't been in several months, so it was really nice to go back. It was like perfect night for it. The weather was good, and I got out of my comfort zone a little bit more than I had done in like previous times, and it was really nice. There was a birthday happening of like one of the employees who worked at Pure Vinyl, and so there was like a cake, there was singing, there was dancing. I got to know some more of my neighbors. And yeah, like I haven't been here that long, and I already have gotten to know like a handful of neighbors, which is really fun. And they're all very different, but they're all like connecting really strongly with me, which is nice. There was one neighbor that I got to know through, so like a couple weeks ago, ages ago, months ago, I had the idea that I would like to do something with the front end of the building. I don't know if I can really say it's the apartment because it's the downstairs and we're the upstairs, but the outdoor space in front of the building needed some work, and I thought it would be really nice to have a space to be able to like sit and enjoy the mornings, because we get afternoon sun in the back, but we don't really get morning sun unless you go to the front, and the front wasn't really a nice place to like hang out. So I had sort of like been thinking it would be nice to have like a bench or something like that to sit on. And when I went out for like getting some groceries, as I was coming back, I saw there's this bench on the side of the road, and it, to me, was like, this seems free, but also the way that it was placed is like, I'm not totally sure if it's actually free. So rather than like, just taking it and walking away, I rang the doorbell and asked if it was for free, and they were like, yeah, it's for free. And this was only like a couple blocks from my apartment, and I thought, I can totally carry this. This is fine. And when I was talking with them, they were like, well, where do you live? I was like, yeah, just around the corner, up the street. It's fine. And they were looking at me like I was insane, and which I'm used to, honestly. People do that a lot to me. Uh, and I often defy their expectations, often easily. And so to me, it's just like, it's not great, but it's fine. It doesn't mean that I should, it doesn't necessarily mean that I should like change what I'm doing. And so, they're looking at me and they're like, it's really heavy. And I was like, yeah, I'm strong. I'm stronger than I look. It's fine. Whatever. I also have like a backpack full of groceries, by the way, that is already like kind of heavy. Uh, and so, they give me their blessing. They're like, okay, well, like, have fun with that. And I lift it and I'm like, oh, this is really heavy. It was like solid metal. And it was like quite big, you know? And at first I was like, okay, this is heavy, but I can do it. And, I lifted it, I get like maybe half a block up, and I was just like, okay, this is heavy, but I just need a bit of a break and I'll be fine. So I put it down. Fortunately, it's a bench, so I could just sit on it. And, after a couple minutes of just kind of chilling, I go back to like lift it back up, and I'm just like, oh, I feel like somehow it's gotten even heavier. And I just like, I get around the corner, and I was just like, wow, I need another break. I can't do this. So I'm sitting on the bench, just catching my breath and thinking like, can I make it all the way home with this? And just as I'm sort of like, stretching because this part of my arms were just like really sore, and my wrists were like, ugh, feeling it. And just when I'm like really kind of rethinking what I'm even doing, this guy comes up to me and is just like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Actually, yeah, no, I'm like really. I thought I could bring this bench home by myself, and I'm really rethinking it." And he offered to help, and I was surprised because offering to help someone move furniture is like, I think, kind of a next level friendship thing. I think that, helping someone that you don't know is great, but it's not something that I would expect. And so I was really like surprised and grateful. And so we started carrying it together. And even together, we had to take a few breaks. But we got to talking and got to know each other a little better. We're kind of neighbors, and yeah, we were connecting on a lot of things. And by the time we got the bench all the way back, we're like, yeah, we're like friends now. So we exchanged Insta handles, and we've met up since. And I think, yeah, that's like, it turns out that we're really compatible friends in a lot of ways. So that's been really nice. And yeah. I also saw Rye Lane, which is a movie that is based in London, in like, well, mostly Peckham, but also a bit Brixton. And so it was really cool watching that and seeing like all of the shots of places that I recognize, places that I walk every day. The movie was shown by the Herne Hill Film Festival, which is a free festival. Anyone can go. And it was happening, I think it might still be happening, sort of like mid-May to beginning of June. And I looked up like what movies were being shown. There were a bunch that I could have gone to, but Rye Lane was one that I was already aware of and already wanted to see, and kind of felt like maybe my window of opportunity had passed. So it was really nice to have an opportunity again to go see it and to see it for free. And it was being shown at the Lido, which is like a leisure center in Brockwell Park. It was right next to the pool. So we're like, the pool is next to us. We're kind of on the concrete. It was encouraged to bring something to sit on. So I had like a cushion that I was on, and it was just really nice to watch the sunset and then watch the movie outdoors. It was just a really nice experience, and I'm glad that gets organized here, that it's an annual event. And maybe next year I might get like actually involved if I'm still here. So other than that, I was just mostly studying. So so that's been my life for the last little bit. Yeah, I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.